The Alpha Horizon. Thinking different, acting aware.
Welcome to the Alpha Horizon podcast from Algebris Investments. My name is Douglas Branson and I'm Head of Business Development at Algebris. I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague Silvia Merler to discuss a topic that is firmly on the agenda for our clients, our firm, our industry, and obviously everybody on planet Earth. As well as being Head of Research for the Algebris Policy and Research Forum, Silvia is Head of our ESG Committee. She is supported by a team of 7 with representation across the business. Environmental, social, and corporate governance refer to the 3 primary factors when understanding and measuring the sustainability and societal impact an investment in a company or business has. Incorporating this into an asset management business requires significant commitment and a pragmatic approach to achieving it in the right way. At Algebris, we have categorized our approach under 3 headings: responsible investment, corporate responsibility, and engagement. With World Environmental Day on the 5th of June, that was established by the UN to encourage global awareness and action to protect our environment, we thought it an opportune time to outline where Algebris is in terms of its approach to ESG. Hi Silvia, thank you for joining us.
Hi Doug, thank you for the introduction, and I'm really happy to be here today to speak about Algebris' commitment to ESG and sustainability.
So as mentioned, we categorize our approach to ESG under the 3 headings of responsible investment, corporate responsibility, and engagement. And to start with, I think it would be useful to our listeners if you could explain what each of these entail.
So when it comes to corporate responsibility, our commitment to the environment is really central to what we do as a firm. We are actively committed to carbon neutrality, and we have put into action a project aimed at offsetting all our emissions since the inception of our business. Of course, however, as investors, we are aware that our impact on the environment and society comes first and foremost through our investment decisions, and that the choices we make in allocating funds allow investors like us to be a powerful engine behind a transition to a greener and more sustainable economy. So ESG integration into the investment process and in investment decision is really something at the core of Algebris' investment strategy. And part of that strategy has to do with engagement. At Algebris, we really think engagement is a major element of our investment activities. And as an active manager, we strongly believe in the importance of discussing ESG issues with the companies that we invest in, with the objective of improving their ESG credentials, including when it comes to disclosure. So leveraging the power of investors to trigger positive change is something that we think will help shape a more sustainable future for the world. And we have a number of initiatives in place to ensure that we contribute to this with our engagement activities.
Great, thanks Silvia. In terms of our commitment to environmental sustainability and how this relates to our wider business activities, could you please guide us through what Algebris is doing to compensate for its CO2 emissions and in general for the environment?
Sure. So in 2019, Algebris ESG Committee performed a carbon footprint analysis of the firm's activities, calculating our CO2 emission based on our energy consumption, flights and travel, as well as paper usage and waste disposal. Based on the result of this internal study, we then devised the climate policy with the target to fully offset the past carbon footprint through a tree planting operation, which we have called the Algebris project. So basically what we did was to convert our total emissions into a number of trees equivalent based on estimates of the potential CO2 absorption capacity during the life cycle of the trees. And following the assessment in 2020, we have planted 52,000 trees in cooperation with Hakuna Matata, our partner charity that operates in Tanzania. Something that's important to say about this project is that we constructed it specifically with the aim not only to compensate for our environmental impact, but also to generate significant economic and social value for the local communities that help us carrying out this project in line with the principles of the UN Sustainable Development Goals.
Understood. And in addition to offsetting the direct environmental impact of our activities as an investment management company, we also integrate the values of sustainability and of fighting climate change into our investment strategies and choices. What progress has been made with this specifically?
Algebris has developed an internal ESG research and analytical capacity which works very closely with the investment team to integrate ESG consideration and sustainability considerations in the investment process across our investment strategies. The backbone of our ESG integration process is our Esg Exclusion Policies, and this is where we wanted to take a step further compared to what most firms are doing and really reflect our focus on financials and the financial sector. This is the reason why, on top of excluding companies that are directly involved in the sectors and the activities that we restrict, we also look at the funding chain of those activities, and we restrict companies that play a significant role in global outstanding funding for the restricted activities on our list. We currently have 4 ESG exclusion policies in place targeting controversial weapons, predatory lending, tobacco, and thermal coal, and all the exclusion policies apply to all Algebris liquid funds. On top of ESG exclusion policies, we also have a screening aligned with the 10 principles of the UN Global Compact, so looking more at how companies are protecting human and labor rights and fighting corruption. And this is already applied to all our financial strategies and in work in progress in terms of extending it to the other Algebris liquid funds. Our financial strategies are also already subject to an ESG screening, where we try to target companies that display a better than average ESG performance compared to the rest of the sector. And this ESG screening will also be soon extended to global credit and Italian securities as well.
Right, understood. And one aspect of our work in terms of ESG relates to our proactive engagement with regulators and certain industry bodies. Can you just outline what these entities are and why such engagement is so important?
Sure. Algebris is a member of the UN PRI, the Principles for Responsible Investment, and one of those principles, which we very strongly believe in, is that of working together with other investors to enhance our collective effectiveness in implementing the principles and in pushing for ESG integration and sustainability consideration to become normal as part of the investment process. So, as part of this commitment, Algebris is a member of several collective engagement initiatives that push for disclosures on ESG issues. We joined the Carbon Disclosure Project in 2020, and in 2021 we are going to participate to the CDP's non-disclosure campaign. We are also supporters of the Task Force on Climate-Related Disclosure, TCFD, and in 2021 we have taken the step of joining the Net Zero Asset Manager initiatives, under which we are committing to manage a progressively larger share of our AUM in line with the objective of attaining net zero emission by 2050 or sooner. We are currently in the process of estimating internally our targets under the net zero initiative, so we will have the occasion to talk about that in one of our future podcasts, and it will be a very interesting conversation to have.
And my final question really relates to the challenge that all stakeholders have in terms of how best to measure ESG adoption. Can you please offer your thoughts on ESG ratings?
Excellent question, Doug. When it comes to ESG ratings, I am a little bit conflicted because on one end, of course, those ratings are essential for investors like us to be able to implement ESG integration into the investment process and to be able to compare the ESG credentials of companies within sectors, across sectors, and across countries. However, there are issues with those ratings that are well known, particularly when it comes to the comparability of ratings for the same company provided by different ESG rating providers, and also when it comes to the limited coverage of the small cap universe, especially in certain geography. I think a lot of these issues are going to be mitigated or solved, at least for the European market, by the entry into force of the European taxonomy, because at that point, we will finally have a uniform and standardized definition of what we actually mean when we say that an activity is sustainable or is not sustainable.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Silvia.
Thank you very much, Doug. I'm really happy that we had the chance to talk about Algebris ESG investment integration today, and I look forward to be on one of the future podcasts to discuss our progress in this area.
Now, as always, our intention with the Alpha Horizon podcast is to provide information and context regarding what we feel are relevant topics for our listeners. ESG is without a doubt one of the most important challenges facing our industry and the world more generally. Algebris is fully committed to doing more than is required of the firm to ensuring a positive impact, and we look forward to exploring the topic in future episodes of the podcast. So that just leaves me to thank Silvia for her time and thank our listeners. So until next time.
The Alpha Horizon. Thinking different, acting aware.